Tennessee Life is sponsored by
Mid-South Sewing is an authorized brother dealer and repairs all brands of machines. Mid-South Sewing, known for their many fabrics, classes, and individual instructions. Classes on sewing and embroidery machines, software, sergers, and quilting. Mid-South Sewing, Knoxville and Murfreesboro.
Tennessee Life is also brought to you by Next to New, an upscale consignment shop serving Knoxville. Next to New Knox.com. And by The Flower Pot, for over 100 years, offering flowers and same-day delivery with 2 convenient Knoxville locations. KnoxvilleFlowerPot.com. And by viewers like you. Thank you. Coming up on this edition of Tennessee Life, we take a closer look at some of your favorite holiday traditions. For more than 3 decades, thousands of families consider a visit to Fantasy of Trees the way to kick off the holiday season.
I like to just stand at the bottom of the escalator and watch people as they walk in the door and watch their jaws drop and watch little kids' eyes light up as they see these tens of thousands of twinkling lights as they walk through the front door.
Learn how a Tennessee-based Christmas ornament business has grown into a global brand and what makes a joy-to-the-world ornament a holiday treasure.
It is a pretty intensive process. We're one of the last companies around to even do it.
And 'tis the season to celebrate African American community and culture.
Kwanzaa is a uniquely African American celebration. And that's the beauty of Kwanzaa, too.
Those stories next on Tennessee Life.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of Tennessee Life. I'm Vicki Lawson. Many families have those annual must-attend events that signal the start of the holiday season. Fantasy of Trees has certainly become one of those traditions over the past 3 decades. Not only will the hundreds of decorated trees and lights get you into the holiday spirit, this fundraiser for East Tennessee Children's Hospital is a great display of a unique spirit of giving. What sparked the first Fantasy of Trees? I'd be curious to know.
Well, 31 years ago, some of our volunteers got together and they really wanted to give back to the community. The community has been so generous to East Tennessee Children's Hospital, keeping us going for 78 years now. So our volunteers really wanted to give back to the community that has supported us for so many years. So they got together. They used about 15,000 square feet in the old convention center. The trees were all live trees. Now they're artificial trees. And they had about a couple of days of setup to put this together, and they had about 10,000 guests come through the door the first year. And from there, it's grown to what it is today.
Do you find that it has become a holiday family tradition and as a way to kick off fundraising for East Tennessee Children's Hospital?
Absolutely. This is our largest fundraiser every year. We raise about $350,000, and families look forward to this. We hear it over and over again as families walk in the door and come down the escalator, and their eyes light up as they first walk in and see the magic of what is our focal entry scene. This year, of course, it's an East Tennessee Christmas, so it's very nostalgic. We're telling visitors we all know why we love East Tennessee, whether it's the mountains, the lakes, the lots of outdoors activities. When folks walk in, they're going to see the 3 bears at play. They're going to have water features. They're going to have frosted mountains. Families really like to have their Thanksgiving with family and then come down and enjoy a day at Fantasy of Trees.
Okay, let's go back 30 years. Do you remember how many trees you started out with and how many trees you're doing today?
Well, the volunteers had about 60 items that were on display 31 years ago. So that's how small this started out, with 60 items. Now there's more than 400 trees. There's more than an additional 200 adopt-a trees. We have a village of gingerbread houses that are on display. That's how it's grown to be what it is today. It's over doubled in size in floor space, and of course it's grown at least 6-7 times in attendance.
Tell me more about this year's theme.
This year's theme is an East Tennessee Christmas, and I will say I've worked with 14 Fantasy of Trees. This will be my 14th year, and this is definitely my favorite so far. At Children's Hospital, we're just as surprised as we walk in the door as all the visitors are, because all of this happens with our volunteers. It's their creativity that keeps getting better and better every year. And they put this show together. They work all year long to come up with these ideas. When you first walk in, you're going to look at the Three Bears cabin, and there's Mama Bear in the kitchen and the baby bears playing in the room. You're going to walk through a forest of kids' activities and something there to keep those little ones occupied. Little tiny trees to decorate, even decorate a cookie. Then there's, in the middle, 300 designer decorated trees that have been put together over the weekend by these very talented designers that all come up with a theme. And then we have adopt-a-trees, one of my favorite areas. More than 200 adopt-a-trees that are put together by school children, and so their creativity comes out. We have the fantasy theater, so we have continuous live entertainment, so whether it's a school choir or an adult solo group, there's something on that stage all the time. And then, of course, you know, back in the corner, Santa makes his first stop every year at Fantasy of Trees.
Tell me more about the scene where we're sitting today, the porch. I'd love to know more about that.
There are several scenes this year that have ties to everybody that have put this together. This particular scene, this porch, was done by a staff member at Children's Hospital named Bo, and he wanted to put this scene together. And this is all reclaimed lumber from his family farm just outside of Knox County. So all of these porches that you see in all of these scenes are not just bought in a big box store. They all have a story. This wood right here has a story, and it's all about his family. And that's what Fantasy of Trees is about, family coming back together.
How much money has it raised over the years for Children's Hospital Easton?
Over the years, we've raised over $5 million for Children's Hospital. We purchase a lot of new equipment with this money. This year we're purchasing some new monitoring equipment for the emergency department, and also some new game centers for the emergency department too.
Let's talk about a part that is a huge necessity for you to do this, the volunteers.
Over 100,000 volunteer hours go into putting this show together. And it's the volunteers that keep coming back year after year and love this show, and they love Children's Hospital. That's why they do this. And without our volunteer support, more than 10,000 volunteers, without them, this show would not go on. Children's Hospital could not do this show without them. And I think to say we're so appreciative to them, I don't know how to express how appreciative we are to our volunteers that make this show a reality every year.
They're such an intricate part of the planning. Tell me more about that and the process of putting together the show.
Our volunteers are already working on next year. So they've got themes in mind, they've got ideas in mind, and they watch what people enjoy most, and they're putting that together. And then throughout the year, we get the props that come in that make this show a reality. Architects lay out the floor, so the floor is by the inch, and where the trees are supposed to go, to the people who make the trees big and beautiful and fluff the branches, to the people who put the lights on, to the stockroom people, to the people who water the poinsettias every night. Like, there's something here that has to be done, and it's our volunteers that do this over and over again.
I know that Fantasy of Trees is about the beautifully decorated trees, but it's not just trees that you find here. Tell me a little bit more.
After you've wandered through the forest of trees and you visited with Santa and been through the Fantasy Theater and all the kids' activities, one of my favorite areas is the Gingerbread Village. And it smells amazing over there. You can just smell the fresh gingerbread. And these houses have been put together by a lot of high schools in their cooking classes they offer, and a lot of different high school students that really work probably the whole month of November to put these houses together. And they are beautifully decorated, beautifully constructed, and they are really works of art. And I don't want to eat them. I think they're too pretty.
I know when I bring my granddaughter here, she always looks forward to riding the carousel.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
The carousel has been here every year, and we have to have the carousel. And one of the reasons we do this event at the Knoxville Convention Center, it's the only place in Knoxville that can accommodate a carousel of this size. And a lot of families like to have pictures made on the carousel. A lot of kids look forward to riding it every year, but it's always here at Fantasy of Trees. And our doctors generously sponsor a carousel horse. So that's their contribution to Children's Hospital, is they sponsor a horse on the carousel, and it's here every year.
Take me through some of the highlights you think everyone ought to make sure that they see.
As you wander through the forest of more than 300 designer decorated trees, you get all sorts of ideas. How to decorate, some different tree toppers, some different ideas to do ornaments in a new fun way. Or you can look at some new fun ornaments can be found here in the shops too. And that's a great area where people can get a lot crossed off on their shopping list. There's something there for everyone. There's a lot offered back there in the shops. And then of course, the kids just want to spend all day long in the kids' activities. We have dozens of kids' activities to keep them busy.
Are you confident that you'll be able to continue to top what you've done in the past, year after year?
Sunday night, as the push broom is running across the floor, I stand here in an empty convention center, and I think, I wonder what next year will bring. And every year I'm amazed. I know I couldn't do it, and I'm just thankful that we have volunteers in East Tennessee that have the mind and the creativity that can do this year after year.
What do you see the future of Fantasy of Trees? Anything that you can share with us?
Next year's theme is going to be very sweet, so think about that. And we'll always invite visitors back. As far as growth, we're about as big as we can get here at the convention center. We've been a 5-day show for several years, and I think we've found our niche in the community. This is such a tradition for so many people. We're always on Thanksgiving weekend, so people know that they have to come down to Fantasy of Trees. They know when it is, they put it on their to-do list, and I think we've found our space in this community.
Thank you for this beautiful experience and this beautiful setting. I know that families can get gorgeous pictures made while they're here and get the true spirit of Christmas. Thank you to East Tennessee Children's Hospital and to you, Seth.
Well, thank you. And like I said, it's the community that keeps this event going year after year, so we owe a lot to the community.
Later on Tennessee Life, coming together in feast and dance to celebrate the 7 days and principles of Kwanzaa. But next, they're handcrafted in Poland, but have roots in Tennessee. We show you the artistry and luxury of Joy to the World ornaments.
When you break out the storage boxes and decorate your Christmas tree with your family, you probably hear a lot of, "Oh, I remember when we bought this ornament." A Knoxville company has become a big worldwide name when it comes to making memorable luxury ornaments. We talk with the founder of Joy to the World Collectibles about their handmade ornaments that are more like mini works of art.
Christmas ornaments are a very emotional buy. They're an impulse buy. People do connect to Christmas ornaments. I didn't realize that draw until I actually started making them. But they do. They build a tree of memories for people at Christmas time. I can't tell you how many people say, I buy one special ornament and it's yours every year to add to our collection. And that choice is it's a big deal in a family. I'm Lisa Kelachava, and I'm founder and president of Joy to the World Collectibles. How did you get started is probably the most popular question I ever get. And it really was one of those middle of the night ideas that kind of came to me and said Christmas ornaments. And so I kind of tied a couple of past lives together and created Joy to the World Collectibles based on 13 ornaments that were endorsed by celebrities and each benefited the celebrity's favorite charity. And now we offer more than 900 styles, and it's kind of grown. The Joy to the World brand is a luxury brand. Every piece that we make is still done in Poland. We have a boutique studio over in Poland where we still make them, one piece at a time, and everything is done by hand. People kind of don't believe that, but that's what we sell. Everything from blowing the initial glass to those final touches of glitter really are done completely by hand. And so when you look at something like that and you realize that it takes a week by hand to make a piece, then we're actually kind of a bargain. Poland, they just make the best ornaments, hands down. We wanted the best, so we went directly to the heart of where you can get it. We're known for making molds that nobody else can, and kind of actually blow the glass, even though the physics, when you looked at it, really would say no. but we've done things that nobody else could do. You know, can we take a building such as Graceland? Graceland has to look exactly like Graceland. And when people look at it, they have to recognize it. And we sculpt it, we make changes. If that gets approved, then we cast a steel mold, just like in a foundry, that is all done by hand. Then from the foundry, we go to the glass blowing, which is again done by hand. And then we go to the fun part, and that's the paint process. And that's where the magic really happens. And that's where you get the detail. So it is a pretty intensive process. We're one of the last companies around to even do it. We do an incredible amount of custom work for a pretty impressive client list that we're very proud that we've built up over the past couple of years. We do a lot of work for Tommy Bahama. We work with Neiman Marcus. We also do an incredible amount of work that goes to New York. We work with Bloomingdale's, we work with Saks Fifth Avenue, but then we also do work around anybody from Graceland to the Biltmore. We even do work for Harrods over in London. One of the celebrities that I started with from the very beginning was Betty White. I was looking for Maltese ornaments because I had become obsessed with my dog and discovered that there were none. And I went, maybe there's something here. And so in 2002, we brought out, again, I always do a collection of 13 little tiny dogs that we named the Pet Set after Betty White's first show ever on network television called The Pet Set. Put it out there and thought, well, they're very cute and we'll see what happens. Well, it exploded. Now we have over 550 dogs that we offer. I get inspiration for the collections from a lot of different places. Fashion, television, trends. One that was a huge surprise and a huge hit for us several years ago. I have a line called Glitterazzi. And Glitterazzi is where we actually paint with glitter. One year I did tie-dye. That was a big hit. And second year we did ribbon candy. And it took me about a year with the team to get the actual look where it looked exactly like ribbon candy. Very, very difficult to do. And people walked in and made such an emotional connection to ribbon candy from Christmas. You just never know what is going to really connect with your customers. What we do is a very old process, and I've kind of tried to really kind of hang on to make it still the old world process. Now with technology coming in, there are some shortcuts that are kind of percolating out there. One is 3D printing, and we've had that question, is that something we're looking at? The answer is yes. We only have so much capacity, and we only have so many people who can make and help in the process. So we are looking at 3D printing, just to say, is that a way to help? Will it replace anything? Not really, because we still would take the shape perhaps made on a 3D printer. It would still have to be sculpted out of the medium that we have. Would that speed up the process on some things? Absolutely. And we are kind of looking into that right now. Christmas is kind of like a blank palette, but I find that it's a happy time. It should be a happy time. It just should be a time and also reflection of, you know, your past memories, as well as, you know, what are you going to make out of it in the future.
Many people like to end the current year and head into the new by celebrating Kwanzaa. The holiday was established in the 60s as a way for African Americans to connect and celebrate African heritage and community. We bring you more about the traditions and the 7 principles of Kwanzaa.
When I was about 12 years old, I was introduced to Africa by my aunt, and that was in Gary, Indiana. And it was so interesting to me. And I think from there, it sent me on a mission to find out exactly who I was, you know, all aspects of who I am. By the time I was 18, I had cut my hair. I wore it naturally then from then on, and I changed my name. I changed my name to Nkeki Kianga Jonaku, and at 19 legally, and that's who I am. Kwanzaa started in 1966, and it was founded and created by Dr. Malana Karanga in California. I started celebrating it 10 years after that in 1976. I was about 21, during that time, and it was a bunch of young people, and I was in Memphis, Tennessee, as a matter of fact. And Kwanzaa wasn't celebrated at all in Tennessee that we knew of. So we made a commitment that we were going to do that because we were looking for not so much an alternative of Christmas and other holidays. We knew that holidays that were basically celebrated in the United States were European holidays, and that's cool. We wanted something to represent who we were as Africans here in America. Kwanzaa is a uniquely African American celebration, and that's the beauty of Kwanzaa too. When we first started celebrating Kwanzaa in Tennessee, we were just getting together, having like a little house party, and playing some music, and doing poetry or spoken word, and eating, and having workshops and that type of thing. As Kwanzaa evolved and people became exposed to African culture through Kwanzaa and started looking into the culture more, then we started wanting to study the dance and we wanted to study the drum, right? And so Kwanzaa evolved. It's a key aspect. It can be, to have African drummers and dancers, of course, at the Kwanzaa celebration. There are aspects about Kwanzaa that are universal to the Kwanzaa celebration. And one big thing is, for instance, are the 7 candles. Generally, the colors for Kwanzaa, for instance, are red, black, and green, generally. Those are colors that you can kind of keep going. And the color that I have on, yellow. Yellow is yellow, red, black, green, oranges. Those warm colors are so identifiable with the continent of Africa, of course. So the 7 candles represent the 7 principles. Red is for the blood of the people, that flows through our body of Africa, but it's also the blood that we shed in relationship to our process of slavery coming from Africa over to the United States. The green represents the harvest and, and the fruits and that type of thing and moving forward, with life. And the black, of course, was representative of the skin color or the hue of the people of Africa. Kwanzaa, of course, means the first fruits of the harvest. That's what Kwanzaa means. When Dr. Malana Karanga developed Kwanzaa, he also created 7 principles, and they were called Nguzo Saba. Umoja means unity, and unity is so important, for us. Unity is getting together as one. Kujijagalia, it means self-determination. So self-determination is making that commitment. You're not going to stop. You're going to work on your tenacity to hang with it. Ujima, collective work and responsibility. That principle talks about how the importance as a community and families even together to do something in relationship to working together for the betterment of the family and the community, in which you reside. Ujamaa, that's collective economics. Of course, that's getting together on collective projects, that would make the betterment for the entire community. Nia. Nia means purpose. Purpose is so important for you to focus and say what you're going to do. You have to have a purpose in life. It keeps you focused. Kuumba means creativity. Nkeki Ajanaku loves Kuumba. Kuumba means creativity. And again, creativity can be applied to anything that you do, whether you're a physicist or a janitor. You can be creative about anything. Imani is the last day of Kwanzaa, and it means faith. Faith in yourself, faith in your family, faith in your higher power, if you so choose to have one. The last day of Kwanzaa is always the great big day. That's when you have your Karamu. And Karamu in the Kwanzaa celebration means your big feast and your big celebration. The drums are going, the dancing. So I know that people are going to be having a great time doing that all over the country. So many people, their first introduction to African culture came out of Kwanzaa. I hear those stories. With Kwanzaa, you wonder, why am I attracted to this? It's like hearing an old whisper, something that you've forgotten, from the past that is still in your soul. Kwanzaa, just like the drum, awakens that. That's the best way that I could describe it.
No matter how you celebrate, we hope you've enjoyed this tradition-filled edition of Tennessee Life. I'm Vicki Lawson. See you next time.
Tennessee Life is sponsored by
Mid-South Sewing is an authorized brother dealer and repairs all brands of machines. Mid-South Sewing, known for their many fabrics, classes, and individual instructions. Classes on sewing and embroidery machines, software, sergers, and quilting. Mid-South Sewing, Knoxville and Murfreesboro.
Tennessee Life is also brought to you by Next to New, an upscale consignment shop serving Knoxville. nexttonewknox.com. And by The Flower Pot, for over 100 years, offering flowers and same-day delivery with 2 convenient Knoxville locations, knoxvilleflowerpot.com. And by viewers like you. Thank you. A DVD of this program is available by visiting easttennesseepbs.org.